Last week, one of my students wrote this sentence in response to this diagram. How do you think I changed it for them? Take a moment to think about it. The problem was with article use. This is a very difficult part of English that causes a lot of problems for learners, but fortunately I have a simple rule to tell you that can help you to avoid this problem and get a better score for your IELTS writing Task 1 reports. Don't worry though, this is not going to be a full lesson about article use, which could take at least an hour because there are so many complex rules to learn. If you want to learn everything about articles, I do have a written lesson on my website, which I'll link to in the description below. For now though, we're going to ask why the building is wrong and a building is correct. When you write a Task 1 report, you need to imagine that your reader cannot see the thing you're describing, whether it's a table or a bar chart, a process diagram, or a map. The whole point of this task is to see how accurately you can describe something. Thus, a reader should be able to read your essay and understand the data or visualize the process or map. Considering that, is it logical to say the building to refer to this building here? No, that's because the reader cannot see it and you have not yet introduced it. When we first mention something, we should say ah. Later, when we refer back to that thing, we can say the. That's because the second time it is a definite, known thing. We use a to refer to things that are indefinite, so it's called the indefinite article. If I said to my friend, I'm going to a concert tonight, it means that my friend does not know this concert. It is one of many possible concerts. However, if I said that I'm going to the concert, then it's a concert that my friend already knows. Perhaps we have discussed it, or maybe it's just so well known that I could assume they've heard about it. That's the key difference between definite and indefinite articles. To go back to Task 1 descriptions then, it is logical to introduce something as a. Whether you're writing about a process diagram or a map, whenever you mention one of the features, you should start by saying a, and then later you can refer to the previously mentioned thing as the. Here's a map of a park. When I describe it, then for each of the features I mention, I should say a the first time, and then later the. I would say something like, there is a fountain in the middle of the park. Then later I would say that the fountain has been replaced by a rose garden. I would then say the rose garden is surrounded by some seats. As you can see then, we say a whenever we talk about something for the first time, and the whenever we refer back to it, because by the second mention it is a definite, known thing. Let's see another example, this time with a process diagram. Here we can see a hydropower dam. A lot of students make the mistake of seeing its various parts and saying the high-level reservoir and the turbine, but they forget the rule that we've discussed today. When you first mention each part, you must say a. Thus, we talk about a high-level reservoir, but refer back to it as the high-level reservoir later. We would talk about an intake and a generator when they are first mentioned, and if you need to mention them again later, you should say the. You may have noticed that I said an intake. This is the form we use with vowel sounds instead of a. The rule is the same though. If you need to write a but realize that the word has a vowel sound, just change it to an. If you want to see my full description of this process diagram, you can click the link in the description. Let's see one final example. Here's a map of an airport. Whenever we first mention a feature of this map, we can say a. For example, we might say that there is a cafe, but later we might say that the cafe has moved. We could say that there is a currency exchange, and then later note that the currency exchange has been relocated. Well, that's pretty much all there is to this lesson. I hope that you found it both easy to understand and also useful. It's a very, very common problem, so don't worry if you didn't previously know this. Just make sure to implement these changes in your own IELTS essays. By doing this, you will make fewer mistakes and thus give yourself a better chance of a high score in your next IELTS test.